Have you ever felt a word get stuck in your throat? Like a heavy stone that refuses to move, sitting there, growing heavier with each breath you don't take. That stone isn't a weight, it's a book. And somewhere deep inside you, in a place you've never visited but have always known exists, there's a library. A vast, endless library of unspoken words. Every confession you swallowed, every truth you buried, every "I love you" that died on your lips, every "I'm not okay" that you replaced with "I'm fine." They didn't disappear. They're living inside you right now, in your clenched jaw, your tight shoulders, your racing heart at 3 a.m. when you can't explain why you're afraid. Because here's what they don't tell you. You can't silence what you feel. You can only decide where it lives. And if you won't let it live in your words, it will live in your body, in your relationships, in the parts of yourself you don't recognize anymore. Today, we're going down those stairs. We're opening the heavy door. We're walking into the library of unspoken words, not to judge what's there, just to see it. The library didn't start as a prison. It started as a sanctuary. When you were small, so small your words barely made sound, you learned something crucial. Some truths are dangerous. Some words, when spoken, change the air in the room. They make people angry. They make people leave. They make love feel conditional, like a door that could close at any moment. So you built the library. Not consciously, you were too young for that, but instinctively, the way a body builds scar tissue over a wound. You learned to take the dangerous words, the angry ones, the sad ones, the needy ones, the ones that told the truth about how lonely you were, and you placed them on a shelf. You told yourself, I'll come back for these when it's safer, when I'm stronger, when they're ready to hear it. But days became years, and the library grew. And now, you're standing in a conversation with someone you love, about to say what you really feel, and your hand freezes. Your throat closes. Your mind goes blank. Because somewhere in that library, there's a book that says, "This is how you lost them before. Don't risk it again." Here's what no one tells you. The library protected you. It kept you safe when speaking your truth would have cost you the only love you knew. It kept you employed when saying no might have meant losing everything. It kept you in relationships that were barely working because silence seemed safer than the chaos of honesty. The library was survival, and you survived. But survival has a price, and eventually, the bill comes due.
Walk into any person's library, and you'll find the same sections, different stories, same shelves. You already know which book is yours. Your body reacted to one of these before your mind did. There's the book of the no I never spoke. Every boundary you didn't set. Every time you said yes when your whole body was screaming no. Every moment you let someone take more than you had to give because you were afraid of being selfish, difficult, too much, not enough. In real life, this book looks like staying 2 hours late at work, again, answering calls from people who drain you, smiling when someone crosses a line because speaking up feels more dangerous than swallowing it. The pages of this book are heavy, each one weighted with the exhaustion of living a life that isn't quite yours.
There's the book of the apology I never sent. Not because you didn't want to, but because apologizing meant admitting you were human, fallible, wrong. And the person who raised you taught you that being wrong was unforgivable, that mistakes were proof of unworthiness, that perfection was the only currency love accepted. So you carry this book, and it grows heavier every time you pass that person in your memory. There's the book of I love you, but all the times you loved someone but couldn't say it without conditions, without fear, without the armor of withholding. Because somewhere in your library, on a shelf you visit in dreams, there's an older book that taught you love given freely is love that can hurt you.
And there's the book, the one almost everyone has, called What Really Happened. The truth about your childhood that you've rewritten 100 times to make it bearable. The truth about the people who hurt you, who you still call family, who you still protect with silence because telling the truth feels like betrayal. This book is so heavy, most people never take it off the shelf. They just dust around it. Here's what happens when you build a library in your body. Eventually, the shelves break. Not all at once, not dramatically, just cracks. Small ones at first. You start carrying the library in your shoulders. They ache for no reason the doctor can name. Your body becomes the shelf. Your jaw holds the anger you never expressed, clenched so tight you wake with headaches. Your stomach keeps the fear you swallowed, churning, burning, refusing to digest the lies you told yourself about being fine. The unsaid doesn't disappear. It just moves. It becomes the insomnia, the anxiety that arrives like fog for no reason you can name, the inexplicable exhaustion that no amount of sleep can cure. Because here's the truth they don't teach you. Your body keeps the score. Every word you swallowed becomes a knot in your throat. Every truth you buried becomes a stone in your chest. Every emotion you locked away begins to haunt the house. The ghost of the unsaid doesn't scream. It whispers. It shows up in the way you flinch when someone gets close, in the way you sabotage good things because you don't trust silence. You keep waiting for the other shoe to drop. In the way you pick fights about dishes when what you really want to say is, I'm terrified you'll leave and I don't know how to ask you to stay. But here's what else is true. The library can be organized. The books can be read. The shelves can hold again. Not by pretending they don't exist, but by finally turning on the light. So, how do you face a library that's been growing in the dark for decades? You don't burn it down. You don't pretend it doesn't exist. You don't keep adding to the collection, hoping one day the shelves will hold. You pick up the lantern, and you start reading. You take one book at a time. Not all of them. God, not all at once, but one. Maybe it's the small one. Maybe it's the one titled, I Was Afraid. And you open it, and you read. And here's what you discover. The words aren't as dangerous as you thought. The truth doesn't destroy you. It just is. It just sits there on the page, true and finished, no longer growing in the dark. Maybe you start small. You write one sentence, "I was hurt," or "I need help," or "I'm angry." You don't send it to anyone. You just write it, and something in your chest loosens. Maybe you say no to something small, just once. "No, I can't stay late." "No, I need space right now." And you notice the world doesn't end. The people who love you don't leave. And the ones who do, they were only staying for your silence anyway. Maybe you sit with a person who gets paid to listen, a stranger who holds the lantern while you read aloud, or a friend who says, "Tell me what you've never said," and then just listens, without fixing, without judging, just witnessing. Because speaking the unsaid doesn't require the other person to understand it, accept it, or absolve you of it. It just requires that you stop carrying it alone. You learn that the library isn't your enemy. It was never trying to hurt you. It was trying to protect you with the only tools a child had: silence and storage. But you're not that child anymore. You can be the librarian who reads, not the one who just dusts the shelves.
Here's what no one tells you about facing the library. It doesn't make the books disappear. The apology you never sent, it's still there. The no you swallowed at 17, still on the shelf. The truth about what hurt you, still written in ink that doesn't fade. But they don't haunt you anymore, because you've read them, you've witnessed them. You've said quietly, to yourself if no one else, "This happened, this was true, this is mine." And in the reading, something miraculous occurs. The weight lifts. Not all at once, not completely, but enough that you can breathe deeper. Enough that your shoulders drop half an inch. The books become artifacts, not anchors. And you become the person who can walk in and out freely, who knows where everything is kept, who's no longer afraid of what's written in the margins. So tonight, I want to ask you to stand at the top of those stairs, the ones that lead down to your library. You don't have to descend. You don't have to open every book. Just acknowledge it's there. Just whisper, "I know you exist, and one day when I'm ready, I'll come down and read." Because the most powerful words you'll ever speak aren't the ones you've been holding back. They're the ones you say next. What's one book in your library you're ready to read? You don't have to share the whole story. Just the title. Sometimes naming it is the first step towards opening it. Like this video to help others find their way to the library. Subscribe to continue exploring the soul's geography together. Next week, the Gallery of Ghosts. What happens when the past refuses to stay buried?